Humans can survive wounds that should make survival mathematically impossible. I learned this while watching a human warship die. At least, that was what my instruments told me. I am Commander Vale Corps of the 7th Imperial Observation Fleet. My species was engineered for survival before your ancestors had invented agriculture. We do not panic. We do not rush. We do not attack without calculation. Those 3 rules built the Galactic Empire. Then we met humans. The first human ship appeared at the edge of the Karen system. It was alone. No escort. No drones. No visible weapons. It drifted through the darkness like a dead object. My officers laughed. I did not. Something about it was wrong. The vessel was enormous, but its design was primitive. Its outer hull was dark, uneven, covered in scars. There were no elegant energy channels. No shield limites. No defensive satellites. It looked damaged. It looked tired. Therefore, I concluded that the humans had suffered a catastrophic battle and were attempting to flee. That was my first mistake. I ordered the fleet to intercept. 24 Imperial cruisers surrounded the human vessel. Our targeting systems locked onto it within 4 seconds. The human ship did nothing. No shields. No weapons. No transmission. Nothing. My tactical officer looked at me. Commander, perhaps they cannot communicate. I agreed. The conclusion was logical. The humans were helpless. Then the dead ship turned toward us. Not quickly. Not aggressively. It simply turned. Every engine on its enormous frame ignited at once. The stars disappeared behind a wall of blue-white fire. Our sensors screamed. The ship had just accelerated beyond anything its size should survive. I stared at the display. Impossible. The structure should have torn apart. Instead, it moved faster. Much faster. Fire, I ordered. Our fleet launched 12,000 plasma rounds. The darkness became a storm. The human ship vanished inside it. My officers cheered. I felt relief. The battle was already over. Then something struck our flagship. Not the human ship. Something behind us. One of our cruisers exploded. Then another. Then another. My tactical officer froze. Commander, the human ship had never fired. Its weapons were somewhere else. They were inside the asteroid field. Hundreds of hidden objects emerged from the rocks. Small. Silent. Fast. Human missiles. They had been waiting there before we arrived. I understood the pattern. Humans did not fight immediately. They prepared. They waited. They allowed their enemy to believe victory was possible. Then they closed the trap. I ordered the fleet to retreat. The human vessel followed. That confused me more than the attack. It could have destroyed us. Instead, it stayed behind us, always at the same distance, always watching. I concluded that the humans were afraid to approach. That was my second mistake. We reached the outer defense ring of the Karen system. 40 Imperial battle stations activated. Their combined firepower could destroy a moon. I finally felt safe. Then the human ship stopped. It did not retreat. It did not attack. It simply stopped. My officers began laughing again. They know they cannot pass the defense ring. I agreed. For the first time, I believe we had understood them. Then the human ship opened. Not a hangar. Not a weapons bay. The entire center section split apart. Something enormous emerged from inside. At first, I thought it was another ship. Then my sensors identified it. A weapon. No. A machine. No. I still did not know what to call it. It was larger than our flagship. Its surface was covered with thousands of tiny lights. My science officer whispered that the object was generating gravity. Artificial gravity. Localized. Focused. Controlled. The Imperial defense ring suddenly began moving. Not because of engines. Because the human machine was pulling it. Station after station shifted out of position. Our perfect defensive formation collapsed. The humans had not attacked the defense ring. They had changed the space around it. I felt something my species had eliminated millions of years ago. Fear. I ordered every station to fire. The entire defense network erupted. The human warship finally responded. Its hull opened. I expected missiles. Instead, thousands of human fighters poured into space. They moved like insects. Chaotic. Unpredictable. Stupid. That was what I thought. They were not maintaining formation. They were not following conventional attack patterns. They were everywhere. My fleet destroyed hundreds. The human fighters kept coming. Thousands became hundreds. Hundreds became dozens. Still they attacked. Still they moved forward. I watched one fighter lose half its wing. It continued. Another lost its engines. It continued. A third was burning. It turned directly toward an Imperial cruiser. I expected the pilot to eject. The fighter accelerated. The cruiser exploded. My officers became silent. I finally understood the pattern. Humans did not measure survival the way we did. To us, survival meant avoiding death. To humans, survival meant accomplishing the objective before death. That distinction terrified me, because the human ship was still approaching. Its hull was burning now. Its shields were gone. Half its outer structure had been destroyed. Yet it kept moving. I looked at the damage report. "Commander," my science officer whispered, "the ship has suffered catastrophic structural failure." I nodded. "It cannot continue." Then the ship accelerated again. My blood went cold. The impossible vessel crossed the defense ring, straight toward our command fleet. I stared at the burning human warship and finally understood the terrible truth. It was not trying to survive. It was trying to reach us. And whatever waited inside that dying ship was something the humans had been hiding from the galaxy. Something that had not yet awakened. The human warship entered our formation without slowing. That should have been impossible. Its engines were damaged. Its hull was open to space. Its internal atmosphere was leaking. Yet it continued forward. I ordered every remaining cruiser to destroy it. The fleet obeyed. Thousands of weapons struck the human vessel. The darkness became white. The ship disappeared. Again, I believed it was dead. Again, I was wrong. A transmission entered my command chamber. One voice. "Calm. Human. Do not fire again." I stared at the speaker. My officer stared at me. The voice continued. "You already lost." I rejected the statement immediately. Our fleet still outnumbered theirs. Our defense ring was still operational. Our flagship was still intact. Therefore, the human was attempting psychological manipulation. Humans, I decided, were weak creatures that relied on deception when strength failed. That was my next mistake. The tactical display suddenly changed. Every Imperial ship appeared marked. Not by our systems. By theirs. One symbol after another appeared across the fleet. Red, 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 red. Every cruiser. Every station. Even our flagship. My science officer stopped breathing. "They have targeting locks." I looked at the human vessel. Its weapons were still silent. That made no sense. Then I understood. The human warship had never been targeting us with weapons. It had been targeting our network, our navigation, our communications, our power systems. Our entire fleet was connected. The humans had entered that network minutes earlier. They had allowed us to fire. They had allowed us to chase them. They had allowed us to believe we were winning. Every action we took had brought us exactly where they wanted. The human captain spoke again. "You build a cage." A pause. We used it as a map. The fleet went silent. Then the human ship shut down its engines. It stopped moving. Completely. I expected an attack. None came. Instead, the massive vessel began opening its damaged hull. Panels separated. Bulkheads folded. Thousands of compartments became visible, and inside them were humans. Not soldiers. Not pilots. Civilians. Families. Children. Medical personnel. Engineers. Old beings. Young beings. Millions of them. My mind rejected the sight. A warship should contain weapons. A military vessel should contain warriors. The humans had filled theirs with people. I assumed they had used civilians as shields. That was the only explanation my species could accept. Then the human captain spoke. This ship was never built to win battles. I felt something inside me tighten. It was built to carry humanity home. The words made no sense. Home. Their planet was thousands of light years away. Why would a warship need millions of civilians? Then my science officer screamed, "Commander!" A second sensor image appeared. Behind the human fleet was a gravitational distortion. Something was coming through. Something enormous. At first, I thought it was an Imperial dreadnought. Then the shape became clear. A planet. Not a ship. A planet was moving through the distortion. My officers collapsed into silence. The humans had not come alone. They had brought their home. Not physically. Something stranger. The planet was being projected through a massive artificial wormhole, and the human warship was connected to it. The entire vessel was a gateway. A bridge. A piece of Earth had arrived inside Imperial space. Our empire had never seen technology like this. I finally understood why the humans had allowed us to damage their ship. They wanted us to believe it was dying. Because the damage was not damage. It was transformation. The broken hull was unfolding. The dead engines were separating. The destroyed sections became enormous energy collectors. The ship was changing shape. My sensors suddenly detected thousands of hidden reactors. Then millions. Then billions. The human vessel was not losing power. It was collecting it. From every weapon we had fired, every plasma strike, every energy beam, every explosion. The ship had absorbed the battle. My science officer whispered the words I did not want to hear. They fed it. I looked at the human vessel. The thing that had seemed wounded was now glowing. The scars across its hull became lines of brilliant energy. The entire ship pulsed. Once. Twice. Then the stars moved. Not the ship. The stars. Space itself bent around it. Our fleet alarms began screaming. Every Imperial system failed at once. Weapons. Shields. Engines. Navigation. All gone. The human captain transmitted one final message. We warned you. I tried to respond. Nothing worked. Then something appeared beside our flagship. A human soldier. Not physically. A holographic projection. She stood inside my command chamber. Small. Fragile. Her body was covered in scars. When I was damaged. Her uniform was torn. She looked at me without fear. I raised my weapon. She smiled. Not because she was winning, because she had already accepted death. That was when I understood the final mistake of my species. We had spent millions of years eliminating fear. Humans had learned something more dangerous. They could feel fear and act anyway. The soldier spoke. Your empire thought this was an invasion. She looked toward the stars. It isn't. The wormhole behind the fleet expanded. Millions of human ships appeared. Not warships. Civilian ships. Mining vessels. Colonie transport. Medical ships. Construction fleets. Factories. Entire cities suspended inside enormous vessels. The Galactic Empire had prepared for a human military. It had not prepared for humanity itself. Our empire had 100,000 warships. Humanity had something far more dangerous. A reason to survive. I finally understood the burning vessel before me. It was not their strongest ship. It was their oldest. It was the ship humans sent when everything else had already failed. And then the human captain revealed the truth. This is not our weapon. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath. This is our evacuation ship. My mind froze. Evacuation. Not invasion. Not conquest. Evacuation. Earth was dying. Their sun was collapsing. Their civilization had been fleeing for years. And we had mistaken their desperate migration for an attack. Then I saw what was behind them. Thousands of stars going dark, one after another. Something was following humanity. Something that had already consumed entire civilizations. The humans were not running from us. They were running toward us. Because our empire was the only civilization large enough to stand between them and the thing behind them. For the first time in my existence, I understood what true terror meant. We had spent our entire history believing humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. We were wrong. Humans were the species that survived what killed everything else. The final transmission came from the human captain. We don't need you to save us. A pause. We need you to survive long enough to help us save you. Then the darkness behind the human fleet moved, and every Imperial sensor went black. I remembered the first impossible fact I had ever learned about humans. They could survive wounds that should make survival mathematically impossible. Now I understood what that meant. Humans were never surviving the impossible. They were becoming what the impossible could not kill. And somewhere beyond the dying stars, something had just learned the same lesson. If you enjoyed this HFY sci-fi story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more epic humanity versus galaxy stories. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next story.